Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today we're going to Poland with our first Polish-produced kit. This is a 1960s model of the PZL P.23 Karas. It's produced by a company called Ruch. It's from the 1960s. There is no kit number on this. And the original issue was from 1964. So this is a little bit later issue from the 1964 one. So the PZL P.23 Karas. Karas is Polish for Crucian carp. So it's some sort of fish, I believe. It was a Polish light bomber and reconnaissance aircraft. In the early 30s, the Polish High Command requested an armed air reconnaissance plane. In 1931, PZL adapted a fast single-engine airliner that they had developed that didn't really go into production, the PZL-13. So they used that as the basis to create this aircraft. So it was a pretty modern design at the time, early 30s being all metal body, an unconventional wing design, made it a pretty advanced aircraft for its time. Unfortunately, it was still in frontline service by the time World War II came around. And as you're very well aware, there was a lot of advancements in aircraft through the 30s, so it did not fare very well. So it was designed by a gentleman by the name of Stanislaw Preuss. It was powered by a licensed copy of the Bristol Pegasus engine produced by Skoda. The export version of this aircraft was designated the P.23, and the license for building the Bristol Pegasus did not allow for export, so they had to swap that out for the French Gnome 14N engine. So there were 3 prototypes ordered in late 1932. The first flight didn't happen until April 1st of 1934, and full-scale production didn't occur until the second half of 1935. So it was a very long gestation period for this aircraft. Partially because they were developing new construction techniques, but there was also some ambivalence apparently from the Polish government on kind of moving forward with stuff. So by the time this aircraft actually ends up getting into service, as I mentioned before, it's already starting to become obsolete. So it was crewed by 3 men. There was a pilot, a bombardier, and a gunner. And the bombardier was also in a belly pan. There was a little gondola on the bottom that the bombardier could lay in, which also had a gun near the rear. And you can kind of see that in this drawing here. So the front here would be where the bomb site was. You could look out, and then there was a gun out the back here. So the max bomb load was about 1,500 pounds, or 700 kilograms. They were all carried under the central wing on external racks. It was armed with 1 or 2 fixed 7.92 machine guns, the WZ-33s, and the flexible guns were also 7.92 millimeter machine guns as well. They were a version of Vickers F guns. So by late 39, of course, this was already approaching obsolescence, and once World War II came, they were thrown into the fray against the Germans. A notable standout mission was on 2nd of September 39, where a single 23B from the 21st Escadrille performed a bombing mission, and that ended up was the first bombing mission against the Third Reich onto German soil. So it was mainly used for attack on German columns. They ended up ultimately dropping between 52 and 60 tons of bombs in the short conflict against the Germans. Around 120 were lost during that conflict, 67 of them to direct action. There was a total of 250 built, 21 went to Romania, and 50 went to Bulgaria. And Bulgaria ended up using them, I believe, and I think also actually the Romanians used them against the Russians when they joined the Germans in Operation Barbarossa. So that's a little bit about the PZL 23. So let's take a look at the kit itself. It's a fairly simple artwork on the cover here, just kind of giving you an impression of the aircraft. Fortunately, all this is written in Polish, so not quite sure, what it's saying on here. Maybe this is an address, it looks like. That looks like the company name. It's got Warsaw. There's a number 7 there, so I think this may be an address for the company. Here is the company logo. Showing here is it being a 1/72nd scale kit, and then the name of the aircraft. There's also a sticker on here from Archer's Hobby World. Some of you who were building models in the 70s and 80s may be familiar with Archers. They had a lot of advertising in the magazines. They were hobby shop slash distributor slash maker slash warehouse. They were located in Orange County, California, and they had a storefront, but it was kind of like a by appointment only. They weren't really like a regular hobby shop. It was more of a warehouse. But they did produce some vacuum form, as well as being a distributor for a lot of kits that were being imported. So it's kind of neat seeing the Archer's Hobby World sticker on here. So on the side, we've got the logo for the company, the P23A on here. On this side, similar again. On the end here, there's nothing on this end. And on this end, we got the Polish Air Force logo. And I'm not sure what this would be here. Maybe some of our Polish friends that are watching the channel might be able to do a little translating for us, or let us know a little bit more about it. And on the back side here, we've got a very simple 3-view drawing, kind of showing you the layout of where the markings are supposed to go and the paint scheme. And then here, this appears to be some specifications for the aircraft. Kind of matches up to a little bit of the information that I was able to locate. So that is what you see on the box. Let's open it up and see what we got inside. So it's a folded box with end openings. And within the box, there is a tray for the parts. Now there is a plastic bag wrapping this. I don't know if this is original to the kit or not, but we'll set that aside. Take a look at the instructions. And this is printed in black, orange, and paper. And I'm not sure what we got here. Maybe some more history on the aircraft. Looks like some more information on the company. On the back side, this may be characteristics. So this may be the more specifications on the aircraft here. And it looks like some little stamps here. These may have been quality control stamps. And then here's the instructions. So kind of like the way you'd see a number of 50s kits, American kits. Just an exploded view of it with part numbers being called out on the side. And then we've got our step-by-step instructions up here. So there you go with instructions. Now this little tab in here, which not sure what this is. A lot of times these little things inside were for if parts were missing, how to get extra parts. That may be what this is. And then we've got our decals, which are still covered with the tissue. And the printing quality is not the best. Of course, they've yellowed pretty good over the years. So, very simple, just the Polish markings. I think this might be squadron marking, and then a white 15 on there. So I did some research trying to find some images of this particular aircraft, or at least one that was a white 15, and I could not find any, unfortunately. You know, it seems pretty standard for most of these aircraft to have a tail number, but I was not able to find one with a number as high as 15. So the opening photographs, you know, are pretty indicative of what these look like in service with the Polish Air Force. So let's take a look at the kit itself and see what we got. So here's our fuselage. So it looks like almost all raised panel lining. It's molded in a silver plastic. Got raised lines representing the tail control surface. Do have something representing maybe the exhaust. And not much for interior detail at all. Here's our other half. Pretty similar. And let's see how the fit looks on this. So not the bestest fit in the world. Seems to be maybe a little bit of distortion, you know, from sitting in this box on the tail area, but it looks like you're going to end up with quite a bit of seaming on it. Pretty rough, sharp edges over most of it. And interesting, you got for where the horizontal surface is a slot to go slide in. Let's see what that would look like. There's the tail. Here's our tail, and I think that's going to slide in probably this way. That keeps wanting to pop out there. So that's kind of how that appears to be how it would look. That's very simple design to it. So same thing on the tail. We've got all raised surfaces, raised markings to designate the elevators and trim tabs. And you can take a look at our wing. So there's a two-piece wing. Again, similar presentation of raised panel lines, raised lines to represent ailerons, raised lines to represent probably a wing walk, anti-skid area. Looks like little circles here for maybe fuel caps. Here's the bottom wing. Looks like it is reinforced across here with a thicker part. And we do have the gondola molded onto it. Looks like there was tape on here holding these two parts together at one time. I don't know if somebody tried to start seeing how this would go together, but that's what that is. Looks like there's little dots here representing the racks for the bombs. So that's how your wings go together. Again, some pretty sharp edges on there. Not a lot of locator pins to get it quite right, so you have to kind of fidget around with it, looks like. Let's see how the wing to fuselage would look. How that gap's going to look on here. So let's get that together. So that's going to, let's just try it this way. So that looks like what your wing to fuselage gap's going to look like. Not too bad. So you go with that. Then we've got our engine, very simple representation of the radial. Some lines representing some maybe cowl parts on there. Here we've got our propeller, big hub and blades all in one piece. And here we've got our landing gear, fixed landing gear spats. And they just go into position with just one pinhole fitting inside these spots on here. So it looks like we're going to have a bit of a gap there as well. Here's one that's been taped together. So somebody, I think, was test fitting this at one time. And there's your wheel inside. And here's the wheel loose. Yeah, about as simple a wheel as you can get. So we got that. And what else we got in here? So we got representation of the pilot seats. It looked like beanbag chairs almost. There's the tail gun, I think. And some antennas of some sort. And then we've got our clear parts. So here's our canopy. Very square. Not terribly thick, but not very clear. It does have raised framing, but very square. And a little thinner on one side than the other. And this appears to be the rear, or no, I'm sorry, that's the front of the gondola. And then this would be the rear part of the gondola. Doesn't look like you get a representation of the underside gun. And then we get a stand. So simple teardrop shaped stand. Does have the company name molded on the bottom side that shows through. So I guess you could use the decal here with the aircraft name, put that on the front. And there you go. So that's our kit. Not too much to it, not a very sophisticated kit, but I think probably gets the impression of the PZL 23 down pretty good. So this kit's been issued quite a number of times over the years, and in fact it is still being issued. So with some pretty nice box art and a good looking box and everything. So I can imagine somebody who's buying that kit thinking they're getting some nice new model, and they're getting something from the 60s, you know, like this. So, so as I mentioned at the beginning, Ruch first issued this in 1964. There was another issue in the 60s by a company called Coopexim, Coopexim, and then Ruch issued it again in this issue in the 60s. And then there's a 70s issue by a company called PZW, which is possibly Ruch, you know, in another format, since we do have a Z and a P here. And at the time that Ruch seems to have stopped putting out kits, this PZW company seems to have started, and they're using, you know, almost identical boxing. Then there was another Ruch issue in '82, and the PZW produced 3 other issues of it in the '90s with revised boxing. And then finally in 2015, the last wave of them came out. A company by the name of ZTS Plastic produced 2 different versions of this kit. And in 2022, a company called Big Model put out 2 starter sets of this kit. So it was the kit with some paints and some brushes. And then in 2023, Big Model put out a couple of new issues of it with just the model itself, 2 versions of that, and then a new version with the beginner set with it. So this kit's been around for a while and still being produced. So if you've built one of these, or any one of the Ruch series of early models, tell us about it in the comment section. Really would like to hear from some of our Polish viewers. If you could tell us a little bit about this kit. It's hard to find some information on it. So if you've got any more additional information, definitely tell us about it in the comment section. If you built it, tell us about it. If you've got any pictures of one of these, or any of these Ruch kits that you've built, send it in for the next viewer build video. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.